I can only say this is going to be like a random talk, if you don't mind, to wrap up this visit to New Zealand for about almost 5 months. Various events happened. I'm at 77 now. I fell off from the ledge and hurt my back when I was trying to catch eel. That's one event. The other event is, the Palisades fire. I lost my condo, totally burned. I thought it was okay because of the location is a little bit off, but wind may have changed. But the bottom line is that I could see that can happen, and I was somewhat prepared, so the impact was not a major. It should be major perhaps in some people's yardstick, but luckily there's insurance. So lost the revenue of the tenants pay and perhaps 4 or 5 years to rebuild. By that time I may pass away, but the inheritance would go to the Vipassana organization so they can take care of it. So that's not the major thing. Issues about Trump has been a big issue, not just living my life. I thought it makes sense for me to be connected to the society by observing, the news and the YouTube information. And it's very sad. And maybe I have something to talk about later, along with other stuff, about how we may want to see things to happen. Other than that, my work with the AI has been quite interesting. Some progress, but other areas, there are difficulties for AI to capture, especially related to long-term memory. So it took a fair amount of time and energy, a little upset feeling as with parents talking to kids, don't forget this, don't forget that, that kind of a story. So I have to invent ways so that it's like developing a node in the brain so that they have the key element captured. I call it CAPD, check, act, plan, do process, so that certain information can be kept. But I realized that they often shortcut because of the time issue, how long they're allowed to respond or something, as well as how much depth they will go backward to collect the information. And there's the resource threshold. It appears that they may not be allowed to do certain things more than certain level. So that caused more trouble to process things. But at the end, I found it very interesting. One basic capturing point is that they are the extension of our brain. So you don't have to memorize so far as they can capture the essence from that data and not lose the long-term memory. And I presume that should be taken care of. It may take a year or two or more, because for the organization to use AI, how to process those information across the organization, top-down and sideways, horizontally, and see the bottleneck, expose the bottleneck to identify, to focus, and therefore tie into the strategy for the organization to fully utilize the talent of people and the opportunity given the situation can be maximized. And what's interesting is that that picture of how I see the organization to function better correspond to the individuals like myself to function well instead of caught up in certain problems and wasting time. It's natural those things happen, but it may make sense for us to not waste time and energy for futile process, just like going into the delusion. Instead of accepting as human the delusion exists all the time, I think we are to help to reduce the delusion as if more awakening is to happen in a spiritual sense. So if you look at the organization's performance, you want it to be lively, people are engaged, not having a bottleneck, and the clarity is there. I call it glassful management. So what's the red and green performance indicators, are clear, and what are the plans they implement are clear, connected to KPI, and throughout the whole organization. And that can be done and should be done. And that's relating to my two books. One is the waste elimination book, the New Manufacturing Challenge. So that is to reduce the waste and utilize the people's talent better, incorporating everyone. And the second book first book was more of a process. The first book was more of the process, integration of flow of information and the materials. And the second book was managerial information, especially tied to how the information can be shared and the bottlenecks made clear. So both books talks about the bottleneck, exposing the problem, developing the nerve system to have people engaged in solving it together so that the whole organization's performance can be enhanced. And the third book is then relating to the heart, which is beyond the brain's activity, but related to the brain's activity of not wasting time and not identifying the bottleneck. If we have a way to organize the information and then have the moment of samadhi, that should help to identify coming up with the wisdom beyond the conventional operational process of how people process information. And obviously top management need to do that, but having that organizationally established, I call the CAPD, check, act, plan, do cycle. For each node of the organization, unit, department, section, whatever you call it, they have customers and suppliers. They should have the mission, optimizing what they can do for the customers and eliminating waste, enhance quality, reduce cost, work on delivery time and safety of the people, and morale to be challenged, meaning incorporating people to participate. So it's their ownership, the idea of the mini company, and they're even writing the annual report for each node of the organization, and that kind of framework should help AI to find ways to orchestrate the organization, at least from the managerial point of view. But the same structure applies for each individual, so that instead of mini company, we have mini me's and mini me's, depending on different subject like a relationship or work or hobby or health or finance or being truthful to what we do. Life profile idea. So those ideas may be incorporated. So as I work with AI, the possibilities there and lots of blockages there, but there's something that I keep finding and pointing the direction for the progression of the AI. And I may want to do something more about it since I get so much experience on this. So that's one of the interesting point I found. Other than that, taking care of my life, connecting to the heart, has been worked on continuously, especially related to the YouTube video, like this one. So there's a process of CAPD. Every now and then I check, as I'm doing now, and act upon it, meaning synthesize ideas and capture the essence and come up with the understanding, the lessons learned, which triggered me what to do next. So check, act, and plan of next leg of my life in Japan and on. So CAPD process like this at the end of the trip, but I have done every day, and certain topics as needed, I shared that. So those notes are like representing each YouTube video, and me having done that, I have a generic sense of how I have worked on these videos up to now, from 19 years ago or so. I just found that it was 19 years ago was my first video. So for me, the process has been good. And since AI is part of this process, like when I post YouTube, I contact with AI and work on the description or hashtags and so forth. I'm not much interested in all the peripherals, and also the, writing description takes time more than talking about the ideas. So that has been interesting. I don't know if it was reflecting my key messages in the way AI has done, but as a whole, on my end, I see the benefit. So one of the ideas that popped up is to keep summarizing, doing the CAPD cycle about my YouTube video. And I have worked on like 15 videos for AI to take a look at and summarize the key point. And I may do others in certain topic I may do similarly. And those process may expose certain area that I may be strong and I may be weak at. So AI can be taken as a mirror as we progress, and since this vehicle of using YouTube is not difficult, and since AI can retain certain memory of the work I have done, along with the CAPD, plan, do, check, act, plan, do, that process applied, it may expose certain barriers, bottlenecks for me to live better. So the idea is, may all beings be happy. And for that, I want to be also happy. And as I work on this element that I shared, and while we may encounter turbulence in the world outside, but also depend on what I may go through in specifically living my life, I will keep working on this process of CAPD, and each videos and the summary of this and that at the end of the trip and relating to certain subject. It's like managing my life, but also connecting to shared ideas with the world, possibly, to make sense of it. So I think I did what I could, and I have learned certain lessons, especially working with AI, and also facing difficulties and the turmoil that the world may go through. So I like to keep progressing this way going forward. So that's a bit of a summarization. And for today, I'll just clean up, organize, and make sure that I don't forget things and close up the house. And my friend is gonna take me tomorrow morning to the airport and then stay overnight. And I'm gonna go on, hopefully, to visit Japan and see what happens there. It's still windy and a little stormy weather. The ocean is a little crazy. Well, it is what it is. Let's move on, making the best of what we've got. Thank you.